Hello, it is Bart from the Scotch Test Dummies. How do you like that long hello? Hello. Scott is out of town. So Scotch Malt Whiskey Society sent him out of town. He was supposed to be back, but his flight was delayed. He wouldn't have been back in time to do a live now, but we were talking about doing a live later in the afternoon, and that does not look like it's going to happen. So he said, go do one on your own. Actually, I said, I can do a quick hitter on my own. So I'm going to do a quick hitter. I don't know what this is. I don't know if that shows up. I'm looking away. And I've got another one that I'm going to do. Again, I'm looking away. I don't know if you can even see the words. Okay, I'm looking away from the screen. That first one I've already poured, but I haven't sniffed it or anything. And when Scott is out of town, Bart goes crazy. Ooh, Edinburgh, very nice. Edinburgh, I would point out as well. Gav's Drams, very cool. Thank you. I'm also wearing my Edmonton Scotch Club shirt, which I love. I wear this. It's actually probably starting to wear out because I wear it all the time. So that is what we're going to do today. Is we're going to do some quick hitters with just me. If I have it right, I was talking to Scott on the phone the other day. I think they had him out in Tennessee for a Scotch Malt Whiskey Society event. If I'm wrong, Scott will tell me I'm dumb because he told me exactly where he was, but I think I'm right. I didn't get any other details other than that. And I think that's it. If let me know if there's any problems with the sound. I was doing some lives on my board game channel, bonding with board games and RPGs, and I found out the sound got a little bit better if I used my earbuds. And but I tried to use one of my better Blue Yeti mics, and I got this weird reverb. So that's why I switched to these. But let me know. Cheers, Canadian Chris. Good to have you in. Sanchez is in. My fellow Pete Head. Not really. He's trying, but maybe it's not for you. I'm telling you, first time I had Lagavulin in 16, at the very first whiskey tasting I went to, I hated it. Hated it. Boom. Andy Wilson is in. We're going to do this for a little bit. People are piling in as we talk, but lives are really weird. They stretch out the people that have clicked the bell that get response. It kind of like they send out these notifications over like a 20-minute period. So I've had people say, hey, I just got it. You're already 30 minutes in. So I like to kill a little bit of time before we start with the show. Mark, hello, sir. Good to have you on. I got my dummies hat. That's my favorite symbol. I love that. And we will be trying blind here. Ooh, that smells very fruity. Ooh, wait, hold on. I get a little bourbon. Ooh, a bourbon cream there too. Wow, with maybe a touch of cherry coming off of that. So I'll be doing these blind. If you can see that, I cannot. I don't know if I've got the label the right way. And we'll see if I can look like a fool as I try to figure out what these are. Jack the Pickled Hound. Love it. Good morning, sir. Whiskey on the West Coast officially piled in. Pile in, baby. Pile it in. I just finished doing on my board game channel. I just finished doing a live over there. I'm doing a super nerdy role playing thing. Most of you would not be into that at all. But I'm an odd nut. I am a weird duck, as you can tell. So let me see. We've got several folks in. We're at Sweet 16, and it still keeps climbing up. We're enough in that I will start this. Before I do that, one other thing I like to do, we haven't done lives. I've been doing it in my office because my laptop got an update and it quit working right. And I thought, I've got a whole system that works here. Who cares if I'm in my office instead of at the bar? But I'll talk to Lewis here and Whiskey in the West Coast. The photo you see here, I got that when I was pretty young. There's a quote about freedom in there from JFK, and I love it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but that's what that is. Down here, this is the original case. I was very orderly with my Star Wars figures in 1978. They're all in here. although I've lost some of their weapons. I also got the 12-inch Boba Fett, also got a Han Solo, Chewbacca, and a Stormtrooper that instead of white, he now looks yellowish, so he's not up there. This is where I kept my Matchbox cars, so that is there as well. Yes, I'm in touch with my youth, and I love those cars. And I just got some games that are up here just to kind of keep from the rat's nest that is behind here. So let's see who else came in, and then I'm going to start nosing and tasting. I don't hate Pete. Sorry, Sanchez, you're right. It's just you didn't get a taste for it. I just can't taste anything besides the Pete. It overtakes every other flavor for me. Got it. You may have tried this, but if you've got several Pete's or can get samples from friends, hints, try doing a little mini like blind shootout. Because when I had multiple Pete's as we did the blind Pete shootouts, what was weird was the Pete disappeared, and it was bizarre how my brain was just kind of getting all the background things from Pete. That was the first time that had happened for me. Usually the Pete was forward, and I liked the Pete. Whiskey on the West Coast. I see the Queen Domino in the background. Yes, I love King Domino. What a great game, especially when you don't want something too complicated on a Friday night. You nailed it. What will happen is I'll kind of be exhausted. Last night was a case. The wife wanted to play, and I said, let's just go watch a show. But I prefer to play something simple. And if you know dominoes, King Domino and Queen Domino kind of play in really nicely together. I don't like Queen as much as King Domino. I forget why even. But that is how we use those really light games when my brain's kind of burnt. You're exactly right on a Friday evening. It's pouring rain here and taking a break from kitchen remodeling. Wow, very cool, DJ. Very cool. It's been raining a lot here too. I love it. I actually need to mow. Whiskey and Wine Trails. Love the boots. Cheers, Bart. 8:55 in Tucson and already 96 degrees. Bam. My grandfather, mother passed, but they lived in Tucson. I need to get into, he used to hike these mountains that were all around Tucson. And he always believed that's what kept him alive to the ripe old age of 92. And I'm sure he was correct. I visited him there once. Hell's Wid. Am I always saying it? Is it wide? Wid? Hi, Bart. Hello. Hi, everyone. Stephen Toth. That's for everybody, not just for me, just in case you guys didn't get that. Lee J. Brown. Hi, all. Hey, Bart. Once again, he's making sure he's nice to everybody. All right, I'm going to get into the tasting. Whiskey and Wine Trails. Hi, they're good. Okay, crosstalk. Perfect. All right, let's see what this is. So Scott, and he got a word that his flight was delayed. And like I said, he's not going to be in. For those that missed it, we were going to do a live later in the afternoon, and then the flight got canceled. Now he's not going to be back till late in the evening. And we're going to even film some shows. Oh, yes. There we go. The Edmonton, let me get this off here. The Edmonton Scotch Club shirt that they sent us. That's what that is. They made their own crest. Love it. Sorry, click that on there again. So let's try this and see what it is. The nose tells me it's some kind of really nice, wow, creamy bourbon. It's getting the Salvatore, the saliva glands. That sounds gross. It's making my mouth water. We'll just go with that. Woo! Holy moly! Wow, that is a puncher. And it's great mouthfeel. Cinnamons. Wow, almost like get a little bit of that rye pepper in there, maybe. Almost screams like Elijah Craig. Wow. Let's see what else we got in here. Love the JFK Freedom quote too. Our goal is not the victory. See what that is. Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom here in this hemisphere. And where's the follow-up? Maybe it just goes on. Hi, all. Hi, Bart. The Beatles of Booze. Love it. All right. So crosstalk there again. So clearly this is a bourbon. I don't have a water dropper to add here. Wow. Yeah. Cream, oak notes, hints. Man, back to that sweet corn. That's tasty. I've had this. I can tell I've had this. I think I've had this. Let's see what this is. This is, it says barrel whiskey, store pick, 67.06%, and finished in cognac barrels. Wow. Barrel whiskey. I think we have barrel over there. We just did some stuff. That is delicious. Barrel whiskey, store pick. So of course, you know, whatever that is, some kind of store pick coming in, finished in cognac barrels. Wow, that's probably where I'm getting some of those cherries from. That is delicious and super high proof. That is great. Let's see, while Scott's gone, ask me questions about Scott, and I'll just tell you stuff that I think. It doesn't mean I'm right. I'll tell you one of the things I do is, so here's something we did that's kind of an interesting story. It's before we started doing the channel. Of course, we've been partners on the street, rough area of town. He was my first long-term partner when I was really still just a rookie on the police department. So hello. And later on, I always liked writing, and I felt like there was I wished I'd had the skill to write a sitcom. And I went to Scott and I said, you know, Hill Street Blues. Hill Street Blues, we were talking about how different shows captured different things perfectly in law enforcement. Hill Street Blues captured what is the squad room. Now you can tell they were in an old precinct building, I think down in the basement. And obviously in Chicago, it's a little bit different where they have detectives intermeshed with patrol, and they're all working out of the same building. A little bit different in Wichita, but you had that sergeant, you know, I can't even remember his name. Someone will know, that used to say that, hey, let's be careful out there. And that's how he would end the squad. The squad briefing is you're basically going over a list of things that have happened in the last 24 hours, catching everybody up. You're also giving out assignments. Hey, we've got a problem with, you know, a serial purse snatcher over in this part of town, or rapist, or whatever's going on. And you might have assignments, and that way everybody knows what everybody's doing. But the fun of it, the human interaction level at the Hill Street was spot on. If you want to know, one Adam 12, or Adam 12, is exactly kind of what police work is like. Back then, they would do a show where they're going on a loose dog or a lost child. So if you watch that, it comes the closest to what law enforcement is day to day. Yeah, Hill Street also showed the partners and what it's like to have a partner on the street. I once told Scott, this is so much fun, I would do it for free. And he said, shut up, the union's trying to negotiate a pay raise. So he was like, we don't need to be telling the city, we would do it for free. Hello. And I was like, I know, this job is awesome. And he was like, I know. So we both had a calling, and we were doing our calling, and that was a good thing. But as I was piecing this together, I said, man, I wish we could do a show that was comedic, but not who's the funny show. It was really hilarious with Lieutenant Dangle and all that. I'm forgetting the show. I didn't watch it all the time. Reno 911. I said, if we could have a show that was more realistic, kind of Adam 12-ish, with a focus on the squad meeting, which Reno 911 would do, but less campy or silly and more on a serious note that was character focused, that I would love to do it. Sergeant Phil Esterhaus. Yes. Such a great episode. The actor had a heart attack and died. And they, of course, played that the sergeant had died of a heart attack. And And man, that was just, I remember even that show. You know what? Hoping for more Wednesday and less of Saturday. It was a dire mood at BC Place after the stoppage time winner by Seattle. I missed something. Let's see. What do we got here? How is work without Scott? Is a job without any adventure? Still plenty of adventure. What Scott it was for me on the department was one when we worked together, or sometimes when even he was in another part of town, we'd go meet and have lunch, or we'd go get coffee. When we worked together, that last part as sergeants, or he was a lieutenant, we'd go get coffee together, and it was very reminiscent of what it was like when we were both in our early 20s and working the street. So it was a nice, connecting the circle back. And we got into high speed pursuit when we were both sergeants, and just all that comes with law enforcement and the things that you do. What is up? And we'll come back to thoughts on the old cop show, Cop Rock. I never watched the musical. I think they went astray. Where I was headed on this was we actually, I'd said, hey, I know a couple people kind of in show business, not super well, but minor. And I said, if we can write something and there's enough web-based materials that you can get it into a script format for sitcom, it might be something. One, we got to hang out. That was part of the reason why we even did this show, was it gave us reasons to stay connected and hang out. And then two, we can just play with the stories and knitting things together and kind of tweaking stories we know and personalities we know, but then fictionalizing it. And it was so funny because we did that. And it was funny. It was coming together pretty good. And, but here's where I sit. This is where I was going to tell you something about Scott. I would finish like a writing session, and within a day, I would think we didn't do that good. And I remember I told him, man, the last session I thought we were missing. And he was like, are you crazy? And we would take notes and kind of handwrite it out. And he said, let me read back some of the dialogue we'd worked out. And I was rolling. And he's like, how did you leave that session thinking it wasn't good? I'm like, I don't know. That was weird. Because he's like, man, he left that session going, man, we're on to something. If we don't have the skill, but that's a hell of a storyline and very humorous. And I came back thinking we had been offbeat, missed. So he's very grounded. I think I'm flighty. God, I hate to admit it. And the way he even does the whiskey show, I mean, he knows what's on my shelf better than me. What? How do you do that? I don't know how he does it, but he's so good on that. And I bring in the wackiness. Let's be honest. Where else are we at? Let me see. What's going? Miss Saturday. Okay, we got that. Who was better with the girls, Bart or Scott? Bart, big time. Hello, I'm 6'6". Come on, I draw attention. I'm wacky. It's a little known fact that I was in the final of Boardwalk Empire. Oh, very cool. So very cool. Everybody likes Scott. I ended up with some gals that didn't like me. I've been giving the sergeant briefing the last 2 weeks. The others always give a morning briefing rating, busting the assistant sergeant's balls. Yeah, it's funny. What I'm known for is I will give little nuggets of information, but I will attach it to a story. And then that makes, maybe it's the plain field doctrine in law enforcement, which means if you're patting someone down, if you touch a gun, you got to know immediately that's a gun. You can't be manipulating an item and go, hold on, is that a weed pipe or meth pipe? It's supposed to be immediately known, plain field. And I have a couple stories that kind of will tie in the legality of the plain field doctrine to a true story that is humorous, that locks in the meaning of the legality. And then usually the troops in that squad room will know it for the rest of their life or until it gets changed or tweaked by a court decision. So that is what I will tend to do. So it makes squad entertaining yet informative. Who's the better dancer, you or Scott? It's got to be Scott. When I dance, people laugh and they think I'm trying to be funny, but I'm trying to dance. So I get the credit of, look at Bart, he's being funny. Yeah, that's right. And it's just that I can't dance. I think I'm 6'6". I'm awkward, first of all, not very coordinated, let's be honest. And luckily, people think I'm trying to be funny. And I'm not lying. So, I'm going to do this one. I don't know if you can read it. I haven't looked at it. We'll pour it into another glass. I still like drinking this barrel whiskey one. Let's see what's in here. Pouring it blind. Scott's always like, why do you keep saying that? Everybody knows. 2 left feet, Bart. More like 3. That's how bad it is. Did a perp ever get out of a traffic violation because she was pretty? No. Matter of fact, I once made a doctor really mad. We were working a pretty rough area, but there's a level 1 trauma hospital in this area, and there was a car traveling at night with no headlights on. That's usually somebody that's drunk or under the influence of drugs, although the street's well lit. So what happens is sometimes people don't, it's so well lit, they don't notice their headlights are off. So I pulled the vehicle over, and it was a doctor, a young female doctor. Well, she said, hey, I'm headed into the hospital. I'm a ER doc. Gave her a ticket for not having a license or lights on. And she was not a fan of me. A couple of the guys said, hey, don't get shot, because if she's working, not sure how hard she's going to work. You gave her a ticket. I'm like, well, we don't give doctors tickets. They said, not the ER doctors. Hello. I was like, okay, all right. So, if memory serves, this is 1996, maybe, yeah, 96. She was attractive. She was a doctor, not a fan of me, because I gave her a ticket. So I never ran into that. I worked in really rough areas. So most of the time I was in really rough areas. So traffic stops were like, I was never a traffic cop where I was running LiDAR or radar and just randomly stopping speeders. Never. So policing was a lot simpler 80s and 90s. I bet it was. I came on 95. So let's see. Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? Yeah, I've taken more than a few guns off of people. So that is just par for the course. And she still remembers this day. Oh, I'm sure she does. She was like astounded I was giving her a ticket. I'm not even sure she was an ER doctor. I'd been in to the ER on many shootings, and I'd never seen her. But I mean, they do training at the hospitals and stuff too. So I actually thought she was BSing me a little bit. I figured she probably worked at the hospital, but she said she was a doctor. But I was like, well, you still had your headlights off. Whiskey here. Ooh, a little jump there. I am hardwired in, so I shouldn't be having any delays, but it's showing that I've got a semi-bad connection, which is interesting because I should have a great connection. It just said it's unstable. Interesting. I maybe need to make sure that, well, could be, well, there it's coming back. Could just be the cable company. Sorry if I've had any delays there. Let's see, what else we got? All my coworkers tell stories in the 1990s wildly different. Kind of. We didn't have tasers. Tasers, you used to have to go hands-on all the time, and you would get in tussles, not always full-out fights, but tussles. And I would always, you go down on the ground, you hit an elbow, you hit a knee, you just get dinged up. Have you ever fired your weapon other than a desk pop? I know what you mean. Yes, but that's all I'll say about that. Let's see. All my coworkers tell me stories. Yes. All right, let's see what this is. Wow, very light on the nose. I get a little bit of like um, dry vanilla with a tinge of citrus. A little bit of creaminess, almost reminds me of a Glenkinchie. So I'm thinking Scotch. I'm thinking Lowlands. It's probably a space side. Most of them are. Yeah. Wow. That's it. I mean, it's a citrus light cream, very faint. Let's try it. Ooh, wow. Yeah, citrus and vanilla all over this bad boy. Maybe a touch of mango. Mm, boy, that is very reminiscent of a Glenkinchie. Wow. Let me see what this is. What is it? SMWS. Okay. 26.154. Klein leash. Okay, makes sense. Cream. It's called cream and croissant. Yes. See, I love it. Boy, they nail it. It's an 8-year, 58.2. So Klein leash. Klein leash is used or was used in a lot of the Compass Box stuff. And very good, very good. So interesting. Wonder where I got the SMWS one. Okay, that is really nice. Let's see, where were we at? Were you and Scott in the service together? Not together. I didn't know him until 1995 or 6. Probably started working together in 95. I didn't ride with him until 1996. And I joined the Army from Evergreen, Colorado, and was in a light infantry unit as a combat medic, but I was never in combat. It was a medical specialist medic in a light infantry unit, never in combat. And he fixed somewhere in Kansas, he fixed night vision gear. So I always tell him, wow, hard charger. He was in the rear with the gear. Just teasing. He's a very smart guy. He's very tech savvy, so he probably loved that. Whiskey and wine, 100%. You got it. Let's see. The video sounds like it's coming out of a Commodore. Really, the video sounds like it's coming out of a Commodore. Well, I've got the earbuds on. I was hoping would give me better sound. Let me check my settings real quick. Hold on, because I should have good sound. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's still good. AirPods are still in. I tried to use my Blue Yeti on another live, and I was getting this weird double feedback for whatever reason. It was picking up both the internal mic and the Blue Yeti. I'll check my sound later. Maybe I won't be using the AirPods. That's all I could think of on that. Because the mic is pretty good here, but it's a little bit tinny, and I was hoping it would be better with the AirPods. Just joined SMWS last month, loving it so far. Hoping Scott lets you try all the SMWS bottles. He's got a few. Yeah, he does. What I occasionally do is tell him, hey, give me some of the peated ones. So, because he likes the dried fruit. He calls it what? Durbus. He's got a nickname. Dried fruit, something berry. I can't remember. Those are his favorites. He's got enough that every once in a while I can beg one off of him because it's already been opened and used for a show or a tasting on his side. Whiskey on the West Coast has been on the fence. So you recommend SMWS? Oh yeah, I'm not employed by them. He is. So here's what you get. The bottles are expensive. The shipping is expensive. And you do have a membership fee that you pay, but a lot of times if you look, they'll have these like, free membership if you buy 2 bottles or something. Look at their specials. It's barrel strength whiskey, and not every bottle's a home run, but every bottle I've had is really good. And every now and then you've got some of the best whiskey I've ever tasted. It's so rich. Like even this, I mean, it's just, It's all higher proof generally. It's got this rich barrel flavors to it that you just don't get usually from other Scotch. And they do some bourbons as well and some different things. But now it's the one time I wish I was wealthy, because I will ask Scott, hey, if you run across a bottle that you think fits my palate, because he knows me well enough, I'll tell him, hey, tell me, and I'll buy it. But I can't buy them all. He knows that, and he's like, okay. And every once in a while, he'll be like, yeah, you'll love this one. And I mean, sometimes he'll even have it, and I can get a sip of it. But that's my fortunateness. If I was wealthy, and I mean wealthy, I would probably just have, hey, open credit card. I want 2 of everything that comes out. Ship them. I've got a huge room that is called my whiskey basement or something. I don't know. And then I would have 2 of everything. That is what I would do. I can't do that. So not even close. Sounds fine, just a little different. Deep, rich, dried fruit. Yes, Dirtiff. That's it. That's Scott's fave. Scott's fave. Yeah, deep, rich, and dried fruit, and he coined it Dirtiff. And Stephen, I'm trying it for a year. You can get your first year's membership included with your first bottle over a certain dollar amount. Purchase 17-year-old Bowmore. They're pricey, though. They are. I'm not, for whatever reason, Bowmore doesn't hit my peat palate right. Everybody knows I'm kind of an Ardbeg Lefroy guy. But yeah, it actually sounds more like a telephone call from the 1970s. Sorry, I can take these off and stop, but I'll have to check it later. My Blue Yeti is best. It gives the bass notes, but I literally had this reverb thing that I couldn't fix. So sorry, it sucks. Sound is the biggest thing when we're doing these, and I apologize. I thought the AirPods would make it better. Whiskey on the West Coast. I'm close to Legacy Liquor, so they have some bottles in stock. That's a good way to go. You know, if you live, New York has an actual like club that you can attend. When we were in Scotland, in Edinburgh, we went and attended, and you could try something right off of their bar. And if they had an extra bottle, you could buy it. That would be awesome. But we don't have that in Kansas. So I'm lucky, Scott's here. But as far as finding some really nice bottles, they're there. And here's the cool thing. If you call in, you might get Scott on the phone or one of the other folks, and they are very knowledgeable. So they can kind of, if you tell them what you like, they're generally, Scott in particular, will be very good at about saying, I think you would like this. And then he'll even tell you, oh, there's a couple bottles of this. It's really good. And so you'll kind of get that personal experience where he might be able to match it to something you like. So that's really cool. Even before Scott was on, I would call and Ben would help out, or Jenna. So they're very, very knowledgeable on that. And so let's see. If you're near Legacy, it's worth it to get the Outturn tastings in person. Oh, it definitely would be. Matter of fact, I wish there were more liquor stores that did that. If they got in a couple bottles, I don't know, maybe that would be a growth. I'll talk to Scott about that. If they were able to partner, boy, that is creamy. If they were able to partner with, some bigger liquor stores where they were able to get some, like in Kansas, you can actually sample stuff. And the thing is, there is cost in the shipping, and shipping's gone way up, and that's definitely a problem, at least for me. And I know shipping's expensive, but when you tack on the shipping and the bottles expensive, the bottles go a long way. But I just can't buy as many as I would like to. That's the problem. Let's see, we're at 34, almost 35 minutes. We're pretty good. Ask me some other questions about Scott, and I will answer them. And then we'll wrap this up just so it's not too long. And I will go back and listen to the show and keep playing with the sound. I can get the Blue Yeti to work without this weird echo reverb. The Blue Yeti is what I used to use right here in this office, and it works great. More deep, rich sounds. I'm disappointed that my AirPods didn't do better. I thought they would be great sound. Great sound. I'll wait a little bit, see if anybody's got any other general questions. Scott's in great shape. Unfortunately, he's in better shape than me. He used to run like an addict. He was one of those running addicts. He would call me and I'd be like, "Are you out walking the dog or something?" He's like, "I'm running." Running? Because when I run, it's basically me gasping for air. And he'd go, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Well," I'm like, "Why are you calling me?" "Oh, I wanted to call you. I'm on the treadmill." "You're on the treadmill?" A lot of questions. Then you go, "I'm like, how fast you running?" "He's 10 miles an hour." 10 miles an hour? If I was running at 10 miles an hour, I'd be just screaming, "Stop, stop." And I could barely tell he was running. I was just catching like the footfall or something. But yeah, I think now his knees are bugging him a little bit. What's Scott's most embarrassing arrest? Just kidding. Don't do him dirty like that. I don't know if he's had a most embarrassing arrest. I mean, that would be his story, I guess. I don't know. So he's had some real cool ones. He was a SWAT leader, and so they would get called in on like high risk robbers and stuff that maybe when they were going to take them down. So he's got all this cool stuff. I don't know about embarrassing. Have you arrested the same person multiple times? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you get to know people. And I mean, a lot of times you just, "Hey, so and so, what are you doing?" And they'd be like, "Ah, dang." And they know you too. Yeah. Especially when you work in rougher areas, you know people and you know what they're into, and you know that they're into a certain game of doing this, that, or the other. Do you guys have any trips planned to Scotland? No, we don't. And he's real busy with SMWS. They've got him tripping around, and we're short-handed. Police departments all over the country in the United States are coming in short-handed. And so I need to start taking vacation before I lose it. I haven't been taking vacations. Who's the better shot? Scott by far, and I'm good. He was on like a shooting team, and they won marksmanship medals as the team. He shoots so good that they told him he's got to make sure he moves his point of aim around because there's some reasons for wound channeling. If someone's trying to kill somebody, you want to actually spread your rounds around. That's how good he is. So he is an unbelievable shot, just great shot. I would say I'm good. He is great. So he is so good. I'll give you this story. On the SWAT team, there was a guy that had here's a shocker. On the SWAT team, there were some folks with big egos. Shocker. I know, hard to believe. But this one guy, they would always do these, they would pair off and have little shooting competitions. Well, this one guy would always grab Scott to be on his team. And Scott was probably their best shooter. Well, on this one occasion, Scott purposely shot his bullets off the target because this person with him would think there's no way Scott missed, so I must be missing. And everybody knew he was doing this, so they were razzing the guy. And he never at all thought Scott would be missing. So he's like, "How am I completely missing the target?" Scott was dumping his rounds intentionally off target. And then, of course, they told the guy, "You weren't. I was shooting off target." But yeah, Scott's a phenomenal shot. Speaking of better shot, I've got a pistol recall coming up soon. Better get to the range. Yep. I was just out doing some fundamentals the other day. It was 100 degrees and I was all sweaty. And I've got a new Gen 5 Glock, and the trigger break's a little bit different. And I was anticipating. If you anticipate rounds, you'll jerk a little bit at the end, and your rounds will drop a little low. I was mad at myself because they were doing we'll do a training deal. So they want to know, are you a tier 1 shooter? That means awesome. Tier 2, that's where I fell in, or a tier 3, which means you need a lot of work on fundamentals. Some people get very, very nervous before they go qual. because if you don't qual, you can get fired, and it gets in their head. I've never had a problem, but they wanted to. How do you train people? So they came up with 3 tiers. Tier 1's going to go train on some cool stuff, challenging stuff. Tier 2, try to get you to Tier 1. Tier 3, try to get you to Tier 2. Yeah, snappy trigger. Well, I was anticipating the break. The break on my Gen 4 was a little bit earlier, and I was anticipating it and pulling my rounds a little bit low. Still on target, but pulling low. Everybody else is getting bored. They're like, Gen 4, Gen 5, So, give me another Scott question, and then I'll wrap it up. I like dishing. I like dishing on Scott. He's very mild mannered, so I would like piss other cops off every once in a while. Not most, but some. And I couldn't hide it under a bushel. They'd be like, you don't, I get the feeling you don't like me. I go, I don't like you. But they would like travel and bring Scott cigars. And he'd be like, I like that person. I go, I hate him. You should hate him. I don't. You are sometimes hard to deal with. True. So yeah, everybody loves Scott. Me, sometimes I'm a bitter pill. You've seen the shirts I wear. You've seen the jokes I make, the mustache I rock or don't, and you can imagine what happens. That's why if Scott and I get into a disagreement, I pretty much give up because I tend to argue and argue and argue, and it's not real palatable. So I had to get to the point where I'm like, I'm old enough now. Scott's nicer. He's smart. He's a better shot. He's probably right. And I just give it to him. It's hard, though. It's hard because I always think I'm right. Has Scott ever lost his temper? He seems even-tempered. Oh, yeah. He lost his temper on me once. Woo! Usually never a problem. But it was like when, because we almost never have a problem. And boy, did I trip it. Woo! He was pissed. And it made it worse because he thought I was like disrespecting him because we were friends, which I wasn't. It was just we had a difference of opinion. We worked it out, but he was so mad he didn't talk to me for like a week, and then finally got with me, and I was like oblivious that I'd even pissed him off. Yeah, making him mad is, I think, kind of hard. If you want to make him mad, treat him like an idiot. That'll do it. I mean, like repeatedly. And then he'll be like, so, but he's pretty quiet about it. Meanwhile, I can't shut up. God, that's good. Wow. I'm sure you can't find creamed croissant anymore, but it definitely has that creamy and then flaky kind of biscuit. 26.154 Klein leash. Man, that's good. No wonder they're always putting that in the compass box. I'll take one more Scott question, then I'll end it, or anything in general. You've got my quick hitter. We wanted to get a show out today. With him traveling, sometimes we'll struggle to get our shows all done. And then I still have work stuff on my end that'll get me all tied up. So apologies that it's not quite as regimented as it used to be. We used to be on the same shift. We would film same time. We would get a backlog of shows. Once we have a backlog of shows, like 4 or 5 in the can that just need to be edited, sometimes they're even edited and staged and ready to drop. When we got that much leeway, we would do what we called a special. A special would mean when we met, instead of us filming a series of shows, we would do something like a 16-bottle shootout, because a 16-bottle shootout is going to take 4 different meetings because you're doing 4 tastings per. And we tried to do multiples, but then we couldn't drive. We have a tester it's like a breathalyzer that tells you your levels, so we know, hey, you can't drive. Be safe. But we have to have a backlog of shows in order to really get into doing special shows. The yoga show, that was a special. That took like 4 hours to film. And so we haven't been able to build those up. It seems Compass Box is using less and less Klein leash, harder to get. Yeah, that is. We heard that harder to get Klein leash. And and so they just don't have it. That's what we heard as well. I tuned in late. Are you both cops? Yes. We've been out of the, I call it the blue closet. We've been out of the blue closet for a long time. Scott is a retired lieutenant. So he's been gone for almost 2 years come October. I am still on. But yep, we started back. I started in 95. He started in 93. Any upcoming reviews that really knocked it out of the park? Well, to be honest, we're all out. We're all out of shows, so that's why we were actually going to meet in the afternoon, do a live. Instead, I'm doing this because his flight was delayed. Excuse me. Then we were going to film several shows. So there's nothing. I mean, we've completely drained our backlog, which is the problem with both of us having different jobs and traveling all over. When you're coming back to Scotland, first of all, we would love to. One thing we wanted to do was we had an Airbnb when we were up in Inverness and up in the Highlands, and it was a beautiful Airbnb right near this river, not too far from the castle. Sorry, I don't remember the castle's name. And we ate at a wonderful place. We met with Wee Scott and had some wonderful tours. But then we were gone. We were moving and moving and moving and moving. And we both decided that if we went back, we would probably spend a week just in Inverness and use it as the spoke or the hub to move down and go to different places and maybe just try to spend some time in a single region. Of course, I could hang at Isla every time, all the time. But we would love to do that. We might have to wait until I retire, but we'll see. We'll see. You know what made that trip so easy was we got flown out to Ireland to film for a week. And then we just popped over to Scotland and toured for a week and met with fans and did all that cool stuff with Roy. So that made it extremely convenient. And it was 2019, baby. You could fly anywhere. Hello. Did you hear the Anchor Steam Brewing is closing in San Francisco? Huh. They had a distillery. I did not hear that. Anchor Steam Brewing. Not sure if I've had their whiskey or not. It is interesting. We've had more marketing folks reaching out to us because I think with the cost of living or with the inflation going on and whiskey's getting more expensive, and I think sales in general, I don't know any of this. I don't get to see dailies or anything, or it's getting a tougher, more difficult environment to sell your whiskey. So when that happens, I think they'll reach out to influencers some more and say, hey, we want to, get our name out there a little better. So we've seen some of that, and it wouldn't surprise me if some of the ones that are maybe struggling fail, and go through the constriction side of things. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But we'll see what's going on. But if things continue, or there's a big shift, if all of a sudden my work friends are like, you should see this new vodka, you can't even taste it. Oh, that sounds like a terrible drink. But if vodka got hot again or something and nobody was buying whiskey, which I can't imagine, but I forget how many people don't like whiskey. It's too strong for them. And if that happens, maybe we'll end up with a whiskey lake again. And by the time I'm 65, maybe prices are coming down. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Cheers. So I'm going to head out. I will take 2 more minutes. Any last questions or anything else going on? And then with my earbuds in, try not to make any odd noises. Just got a great deal on Cragganmore 12. Love Cragganmore. Love it. That SMWS Klein Leash was great. That's the other hard thing is they're all unicorns. And the real good ones, they disappear fast and then you can't ever find them. So tequila's getting hot. Let's hope it gets way hotter and the lemmings leave us alone. Yeah, I know. I like tequila too. I just don't know if it's got the legs to stay that hot. I like tequila though, like good tequila. Scotch says, dummies, have a great day, Bart. Thanks again. Hey, my pleasure, Stephen. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy the weekend, all. All right. I think that's a good sign off there. We've still got plenty of folks on, but it gets hard to watch if it goes too long. And I will sign off. It's a pleasure. I'll be seeing Scott later. Well, maybe tomorrow now, I think, as late as his flight's coming in. It'll probably be tomorrow. Every runner blows out his knee sooner or later. I don't think he's blown anything out, but yeah, I think they got a little worn out. I mean, that guy would run 10 miles and then later in the evening run another 10. Don't have a cow, man. Yep. Funny story on that was I was in high school. I think I might have even been a senior, maybe a junior when The Simpsons came out. And I remember people started telling, they were first making fun of me. Do you see the little yellow character that's named after you? Blah, blah. I'd be like, oh God, what is this? And then the show got hot. And I was like, I love it. Old Bart. Regards from Germany. Have a great weekend. Was ist los? Was ist los, JH? What is up? Howdy from Germany. Wow, pharmacists do it over the counter. All right. Very nice. I bet you they say ein, zwei, drei while they're doing it as well. Little counting. Little counting. I had a German girlfriend. Very strict woman. Very strict. I will sign off on that one before I get myself in trouble. See you guys later. Scotch it. You scotch gods. Bye, everybody. Now I got